expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, Brother Mike back on the radio. Welcome to the program, HardcoreChristianity.com. Welcome to Filthy Fridays. Thank you for tuning in. Today's Bible study is on prescription drugs taking over America. Hey, would you give somebody a call and tell them the radio program's on? We don't normally call people during Filthy Fridays, but this thing's so serious. I had to go over it with you on Fridays. The epidemic of prescription drugs is literally scary. I'll make a couple of announcements when you make the call. You know somebody that's addicted to prescription drugs, please listen to the program. And this is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the House of Healing in Central Phoenix. The House of Healing is on 11th Street, just south of Indian School Road and west of the 51 Freeway and east of the VA Hospital in the heart of Maricopa County, Arizona. And on the website, HardcoreChristianity.com, all of our services there. And, of course, you're aware of my new service on Tuesday nights, 7 p.m., Deliverance Training Class. If you ever had a desire to get into the healing and deliverance ministry, this class will save you literally years of confusion and frustration. And the years that I had of confusion and frustration will not be yours. It's free. Wednesday night. What a great night if you were abused as a child. Yeah, Diane and Kelly take you into healing and deliverance. Thursday night, teaching healing and deliverance. Friday night, 6:30 p.m., my teaching service for my radio listeners. On the website, you can sign up for our teaching channel, our YouTube teaching page, our Facebook channel, our free seminar next month. Our last seminar on Islam was the bomb. Very well received. People were shocked at what's happening to America with Islam. Please remember to hit the PayPal button. Send us a donation. I don't take a salary in the ministry, so all the money, bang, goes right back into the ministry. And most of our donations off the radio are small ones, $25, $50, $75, $100, $150. Those work out perfect for us. That pays for a radio program, then another. And I've been on the radio in Maricopa County since 2002. Guess what? Never missed a radio payment. Not one of them. It's absolutely amazing. Thanks to your generosity. The radio programs are on all the time, 24/7. SoundCloud.com/hardcore-Christianity. Prescription drugs. Incredible. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of any of these people? China, a female World Wrestling Federation wrestler. How about Greg Giraldo, a comedian? How about Whitney Houston, a singer? How about Heath Ledger, an actor? How about Bam Bam Bigelow, another professional wrestler? Anna Nicole Smith? Margot Hemingway? Kurt Cobain? Abby Hoffman, Elvis Presley, Freddie Prinze, Bruce Lee, Jimi Hendrix, Judy Garland. Heard of any of these people? No? Yes? Guess what? What do they all have in common? You wouldn't think they'd have a thing in common. Yep, they all died of prescription drug overdoses, some of them combined with other drugs and alcohol. Prescription drugs killed them all. China just died in February 2016. You remember that? That just happened. And she actually filmed on her YouTube channel her day, just the day of her death. She filmed it. And you could see that she was massively intoxicated. And their managers came out later and said she died of an overdose of Ambien and Valium. And she actually filmed how it happened on her YouTube page. And in fact, I think it's still up. You can watch that on YouTube, but not recommending you do it. It was very sad. But she accidentally and unintentionally used these prescribed drugs. She got them legally, and she used too many of them. over the course of a few weeks. And, of course, it killed her. And all these other people I just mentioned, plus 2,500 children a day in the United States try prescription drugs for the first time. 15 million people a day abuse prescription drugs in the United States. 3% of children aged 12 to 17 abuse prescription drugs. 6% of young people 17 to 25 abuse prescription drugs. 40% of all the drug overdoses in the United States are related to prescription drugs, far outdistancing, by far, any illegal drug overdose. Depressants, opioids, antidepressants, they're responsible for more overdose deaths than cocaine, heroin, meth, and amphetamines combined. Years ago, the prescription drug deaths used to be in the African American community. It has shifted. Guess where it's gone? Who's the number one community of overdoses on prescription drugs? Anybody know? Suburban whites are now number one. What's number one for emergency room visits in the United States? Anybody know? Yep. 2 million people a year end up in an emergency room from a prescription drug overdose. 2 million people. 50% of them, they account for 50% of all the ER admissions in the United States. 50%. 70% of teens get drugs from their home medicine cabinets. 50% of teenagers in a recent poll saw prescription drugs as safer than illegal drugs. The study came out from the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University. It came out just recently. They said teenagers who abuse prescription drugs are 2 times as likely to use alcohol, 5 times more likely to use pot, 20 times more likely to use illicit street drugs like ecstasy or X, heroin, and cocaine than teens who do not abuse prescription drugs. What's the concept there? It's almost like a gateway to Satan's world of death. In 2007, the Drug Enforcement Administration found that abuse of the painkiller fentanyl killed more than 1,000 people in 2007 in the United States. It is 30 to 50 times more powerful than heroin. Fentanyl. Can you imagine that? What in the world is going on here? I mean, this thing is going bad on us. Here's what's really happening. During childhood here in America, we have become kind of a melting pot in the United States for dysfunctional families. Our country has the highest standard of living for the middle class than almost any country or any area in the world. We have the highest standard of living more than any country and almost any other area of the world, certainly for a large country. We're at the top. America has been incredibly blessed with an economic status that's been unparalleled in the history of the world. America, there's no place like America. That's why everybody wants to come here. But in that affluence, the devil has taken advantage of us, and he has caused us to become systematically desensitized. That's a psychiatry word that means that if you're exposed to something too often, it then becomes, to use a biblical term, common. And the person gets used to it and takes it for granted. They become systematically desensitized. And what's happened here in America is that people have become desensitized and therefore need something else to entertain them, something else to make them feel better. They've taken their lives for granted, and particularly suburban whites now, who are not living in poverty and they are not homeless, but they find their lives boring. Most of the homes have broken families. Most of the homes do not have fathers. There's divorce rampant everywhere. And Satan has broken down the inner fiber of the country by breaking down the family in America. That's the number one problem in the African American community here in the United States. They have the number one or the highest rate of broken families of any minority. And of course, they have the highest rate of poverty and illegitimate children and teen pregnancies and prison populations and everything else. And it all trails back to the broken family. Well, now in the suburban whites, they are not sitting there in poverty or homeless or in prison. They are looking for something to take themselves out of their miserable, boring lives. Many of them have tried religion and Christianity, and of course that doesn't work either. The seeker-friendly churches that have watered down the gospel do not meet the spiritual needs of the people. They cannot meet them because they've eliminated deliverance from their services. They've, in many cases, eliminated divine healing, and they've watered the gospel down to something that's entertaining, fun to do, and seeker-friendly fun that does not last. And so now the devil, through these dysfunctional families all over the country, particularly in the white suburban community, the spirit of rejection has attacked all these people when they were young. And as they grew up, they developed this kind of sense of low self-esteem or low self-worth. And so people that have this nagging sense that they're worthless or unworthy or have low self-esteem gravitate very naturally to prescription drugs. Why? Because they're legal, and because they're easy to abuse, and because they're easy to get. The pharmaceutical companies have done well in the stock market. They make money hand over fist. If you know somebody who's addicted to prescription drugs, okay, and they're a born-again Christian, they are eligible for free counseling services at the House of Healing. 602-636-5800, hardcorechristianity.com on the website. They need to be referred quickly because this thing has gone bad on us. Prescription drugs are now the number one addictive drug in the United States, and it's sweeping the Christian community as fast as any other community. Come get help.
The views expressed on the preceding program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program has been sponsored by Michael W. Smith.